The classroom floated in space, surrounded by stars. Through the clear walls, students could see 3 different suns burning in the distance. Inside, 27 beings from across the galaxy sat at their desks, waiting for class to begin. Hyun adjusted his crystalline body on the specially designed chair. Everything felt too bright today, too sharp. Being a Velthian meant feeling everything more intensely than most species. Even the soft hum of the station's air system tickled his sensory nodes uncomfortably. Next to him, Mina bobbed gently in her water-filled containment suit. Her people, the Quilnar, needed to stay moist at all times. She noticed Hyun's discomfort and sent a gentle pulse of concern through her translator device. "I am fine," Hyun responded quietly, "just tired from yesterday's lab work." Professor Vane entered the room, his 6 legs clicking against the metal floor. He was old, even by his species standards, and had taught xenobiology for 300 years. His compound eyes scanned the classroom, making sure everyone was present. "Good morning, students," Professor Vane said, his voice translator making his words understandable to all species present. "Today I'm assigning your semester project." The room filled with nervous energy. Semester projects counted for 40% of the final grade. Students shifted in their seats, preparing their note-taking devices. "You will work in pairs," the professor continued. "Each team will select 1 sentient species from the galactic community. You will study their biology, their resilience factors, and their survival mechanisms. I want detailed reports on how they handle injury, illness, and physical stress." Hyun felt his crystalline structure vibrate with interest. This sounded fascinating. He loved learning about how different species adapted to their homeworlds. "You have complete access to the galactic medical databases," Professor Vane added. "You may also conduct interviews with members of your chosen species, provided they consent."
"Ethics board approval is required for any physical testing." A student from the back raised a tentacle.
"Professor, how do we choose which species to study?" "That is up to you," Professor Vane replied. "But I suggest choosing wisely. Some species are very well documented. Others remain mysterious. Pick something that interests you, but also something you can actually research within 1 semester." Hyun turned to Mina. They had been lab partners for 2 years now and worked well together. "Should we partner for this?" he asked. Mina's suit bubbled with what her species considered a smile. "Yes, I think so. Do you have any ideas for which species?" Before Hyun could answer, a human walked past their desk. His name was Taeyang, one of only 5 humans currently studying at the academy. Humans were new to the galactic community, having only made first contact 15 years ago. They were still rare to see outside their home system. "What about humans?" Hyun suggested suddenly. Mina considered this. "Humans, they are so new. Will there be enough data?" "That is what makes it interesting," Hyun said, his excitement growing. "Everyone studies the old established species. Humans are fresh, unexplored. And look, we have one right here we can interview." Mina followed Hyun's gesture toward Taeyang, who was now sitting at a desk near the front. The human was reviewing something on his datapad, completely unaware of their conversation. "He does seem friendly," Mina admitted. "The few times I have spoken with humans, they have been very kind." "Exactly," Hyun said. "And according to the galactic databases, humans are classified as standard durability. This should be a straightforward project. Nothing too complicated." Professor Vane's voice cut through the classroom chatter. "You have until the end of this class to choose your partners and your species. Submit your choices to me before you leave. Remember, once you choose, you cannot change. Pick carefully." The next 30 minutes were chaos. Students moved around the room, forming partnerships and arguing about which species to study. Some wanted to research the heavily armored Krondax. Others preferred the gas-dwelling Nephiri. A few brave students even chose to study the mysterious Silicon Collective. Hyun and Mina formalized their partnership and submitted their choice: Homo sapiens. The humans. Professor Vane looked at their selection and nodded approvingly. "An interesting choice. Fresh perspective. The humans have been quite cooperative with research requests so far. I am sure you will find them helpful." As class ended, Hyun felt a surge of excitement. This project would be his chance to really excel. He had always been interested in how different species evolved to survive their homeworlds. Earth, the human home planet, was classified as a Class 7 life-bearing world. Standard gravity, standard atmosphere, moderate climate variations. Nothing unusual. "Should we approach Taeyang now?" Mina asked as they gathered their belongings. Hyun hesitated. Maybe we should do some preliminary research first. I do not want to seem unprepared. Good idea, Mina agreed. Let us meet at the library tonight. We can review the basic human biology files and prepare some questions. They left the classroom together, passing by Taeyang on their way out. The human looked up and smiled at them. A gesture that Hyun had learned meant friendliness in human culture. Hyun tried to return the gesture, though his crystalline face structure made it difficult. That evening, Hyun and Mina met at the academy library. The vast database contained information on every known sentient species in the galaxy. They pulled up the human files and began reading. Look at this, Mina said, highlighting a section. Humans have only one heart. If it fails, they die within minutes. Fragile, Hyun observed. What about their skeletal structure? Internal skeleton made of calcium-based bones, Mina read. Relatively brittle compared to exoskeletons. Can break under sufficient force. Standard as expected, Hyun noted, making records in his data pad. Anything about pain tolerance? Mina scrolled through the files. Here, it says humans have a distributed nervous system with pain receptors throughout their body. They feel pain when tissue is damaged. Standard warning system like most species. Pain threshold? Hyun asked. Not specified in detail, Mina replied. The database just classifies them as average tolerance. Similar to Quilnar and Velthian baselines, Hyun felt satisfied. This confirmed his initial assessment. Humans seemed like a perfectly standard species. Interesting because they were new, but not so unusual that the project would become overwhelming. I think we have enough basic information, Hyun said. Tomorrow we should approach Taeyang and ask if he would be willing to help with our project. Do you think he will agree? Mina asked, why would he not? Hyun responded. Humans seem to enjoy sharing information about themselves. I have heard they are very social creatures. They spent another hour reviewing human anatomical charts and medical data. Everything seemed straightforward. Humans had 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. They breathed oxygen. They needed water. They ate organic matter for energy. Standard biology. As Hyun returned to his quarters that night, he felt confident about the project. He would get good data, write an excellent report, and earn high marks. Professor Vane would be impressed with their thorough work. He had no idea how wrong he was. The next day, Hyun and Mina found Taeyang in the academy cafeteria. He was eating something that looked like compressed protein mixed with plant matter. Humans called it a sandwich. Excuse me, Taeyang. Hyun approached carefully, trying not to startle the human. Taeyang looked up and smiled again. Hi, Hyun, right? And Mina? We are in xenobiology together. Yes, Hyun confirmed, pleased that the human remembered them. We wanted to ask you something. For our semester project, we chose to study human biology and resilience. Would you be willing to answer some questions for us? Taeyang's face brightened. Really, you want to study humans? That is so cool. Yeah, absolutely, I would be happy to help. What do you need to know? Mina bubbled happily in her suit. Just basic information to start. Maybe we could schedule some interview sessions? Sure thing, Taeyang agreed immediately. I am pretty free most evenings. And hey, if you need to talk to other humans too, I can introduce you to Jiho, Sora, and Doyun. They are the other human students here. That would be wonderful, Hyun said, relief flooding through his crystalline structure. This was going even better than expected. No problem at all, Taeyang said warmly. Humans love talking about themselves. Fair warning, though, we might be kinda boring. We are pretty standard, you know. Hyun and Mina exchanged satisfied looks. Standard was exactly what they wanted. Simple, straightforward, and manageable. If only they knew what was coming. The research lab was quiet except for the soft hum of computer systems. Hyun sat at his terminal, his crystalline fingers moving across the holographic keyboard. Next to him, Mina floated in her containment suit, her own screen displaying streams of data. They had been researching for 3 hours now, and something was wrong. This cannot be correct, Hyun said for the 5th time. He closed the file and opened it again, hoping the data would change. It did not. What did you find? Mina asked, sliding her chair closer. This medical report from a human hospital, Hyun explained, his voice uncertain. It describes a common procedure called a root canal. Do you know what that is? No, Mina admitted. It is when a human's tooth becomes infected, Hyun continued. The medical professional drills into the tooth, removes the infected material and fills the empty space. And look at this, Mina. The human remains conscious during the entire procedure. Mina was silent for a moment. That must be a translation error. You mean they are sedated, yes? No, Hyun said, highlighting the relevant section. It says they use only local pain suppressants. The patient is awake. They can feel pressure and movement, just not pain. Or rather, not much pain. Not much pain, Mina repeated. Hyun, drilling into a tooth would register as severe tissue damage. For my species, that would trigger immediate unconsciousness as a protective response. For mine as well, Hyun agreed. His crystalline structure flickered with confusion. But according to this, millions of humans undergo this procedure every year. They describe it as uncomfortable but manageable. Mina pulled up her own files. I found something similar. Look at this data about human athletes. Hyun examined her screen. The file detailed various human sports and the injuries associated with them. His sensory nodes went dark with shock. This says a human runner completed a marathon with a broken bone in their foot, Hyun read aloud. A marathon is over 40 kilometers. They ran for hours with broken bone fragments grinding together. It gets worse, Mina said quietly. This basketball player finished a game with a torn ligament. This soccer player continued playing after breaking 3 ribs. This fighter had a separated shoulder and kept competing. Were they not in pain? Hyun asked. The reports say they were, Mina answered. They felt the pain. They just chose to continue anyway. Hyun leaned back in his chair, trying to process this information. In Velthian culture, pain was to be avoided at all costs. Their crystalline bodies were sensitive, designed to feel everything intensely so they could avoid damage. The idea of choosing to continue an activity while in pain made no sense to him. Maybe these are exceptional cases, Hyun suggested. Unusual humans with rare conditions that make them less sensitive to pain. I thought that too, Mina said. But look at the statistics. These injuries happen constantly in human sports. And the humans keep playing. It seems to be normal behavior for them. They continued researching, and each new file made them more confused. Human childbirth was particularly disturbing. The medical data showed pain levels that would kill most Quilnar. Yet human females not only survived the process but often chose to do it multiple times. This pain scale rating is 14 out of 10, Mina said, her suit bubbling with distress. How can something be 14 out of 10? 10 is supposed to be the maximum. I think the scale broke, Hyun replied, his voice hollow. The human pain experience exceeded what the galactic medical standard could measure. They found records of human survival situations that seemed impossible. One human had been trapped by a fallen boulder while hiking alone. After 5 days with no rescue, the human had used a dull knife to cut off his own arm to escape. The file included a video interview with this human, who described the experience calmly and even made jokes about it. He cut off his own arm, Hyun whispered, while fully conscious, using a knife that barely cut. It took him over an hour, and he survived, Mina added. He walked for hours afterward to reach help. Then he went on to live a normal life. He even wrote a book about it. Hyun closed the file. His sensory nodes were overloading from stress. I think we need to verify this data with Taeyang. Some of this must be exaggerated or mistranslated. The next day, they met Taeyang in one of the academy's private study rooms. The human arrived with a drink in his hand, something hot that produced steam. He called it coffee. Hey guys, Taeyang greeted them cheerfully. Ready to start the interviews? Actually, we have some questions about the data we found. Hyun began carefully. We want to make sure we are understanding correctly. Sure, fire away, Taeyang said, taking a sip of his coffee. We found a medical case about a human who was trapped and cut off his own arm, Mina said. Is this report accurate? Oh, you mean the hiker guy? Taeyang nodded. Yeah, that happened. Pretty intense situation. I think there have been a few cases like that, actually. When you are trapped and going to die otherwise, people do what they have to do. Hyun and Mina looked at each other. Taeyang had confirmed it so casually as if discussing the weather. But the pain, Hyun said, cutting through your own flesh and bone. How did he not lose consciousness? Taeyang shrugged. Adrenaline, mostly. The human body has this response to danger where it kind of overrides the pain signals. You still feel it, but your brain prioritizes survival. It is actually pretty cool how that works. Cool? Mina repeated faintly. Well, from a biological standpoint, Taeyang clarified. I mean, I would not want to be in that situation. But it is interesting how our bodies can push through extreme circumstances. Hyun pulled up another file. What about this? Multiple reports of humans performing surgery on themselves in emergency situations. One person removed their own appendix at a research station. Oh yeah, that was in Antarctica, I think, Taeyang said. The doctor got appendicitis, but they were too far from help, and the weather was too bad for evacuation. So he had to do it himself. That is pretty rare, though. Not everyone could do that. But someone did do it, Mina pointed out. A human did do it. True, Taeyang agreed. Humans can be pretty tough when we need to be. Hyun decided to try a different approach. Tell me about your own pain experiences. What is the worst pain you have personally felt? Taeyang thought for a moment, sipping his coffee. Probably when I broke my wrist playing basketball in high school. That hurt a lot. What did you do? Mina asked. Well, I finished the game first, Taeyang said. I knew something was wrong, but we only had 5 minutes left and we were winning. After the game, my coach took me to the hospital. They put a cast on it and it healed fine. You finished the game, Hyun repeated slowly, with a broken bone. Yeah, it was not my shooting hand, so I could still play, Taeyang explained. It hurt, but pain is pain, you know? You can deal with it. Hyun felt his crystalline structure going cold. This was not making sense. For Velthians, a broken bone would cause immediate unconsciousness from shock. The body would shut down to prevent further damage. But Taeyang had continued playing a sport. For fun. What about medical procedures? Mina asked. Have you had any teeth work done? Oh sure, I had my wisdom teeth removed last year, Taeyang said. That was not fun. Were you unconscious? Hyun asked hopefully. Nah, they just numbed my mouth, Taeyang replied. I was awake the whole time. Could not feel the pain, but I could feel the pressure of them pulling the teeth out. Kinda weird, honestly. My jaw was sore for a few days after. And this is normal? Mina pressed. Most humans experience this? Pretty much everyone gets dental work at some point, Taeyang confirmed. It is just part of life, why? Is it different for your species? Yes, Hyun said simply. He did not know how to explain that his people would consider such a procedure torture. They continued the interview for another hour. Every answer Taeyang gave made them more uncomfortable. He talked about scraped knees from childhood, about headaches that he just worked through, about the time he sprained his ankle badly but still walked around on it for 2 days before seeing a doctor. All of it was casual, normal, just part of being human. When Taeyang left, Hyun and Mina sat in silence. I need to process this, Mina said finally. I do not think our pain scales align with theirs, Hyun said. What they consider manageable, we would consider unbearable. Should we continue this research? Mina asked. I am starting to feel uncomfortable. Hyun considered this. Part of him wanted to stop, but another part, the scientist part, was deeply curious. How had humans evolved this way? What kind of world created beings who could endure such damage? We continue, Hyun decided. But carefully. We need to understand this. I think we may have stumbled onto something significant, Mina agreed reluctantly. They spent the rest of the day compiling their findings into a preliminary report. The data was concerning, but they still hoped there was a reasonable explanation. That night, Hyun could not rest properly. He kept thinking about Taeyang's casual tone, the way he described breaking his wrist as if it were a minor inconvenience. Humans were classified as standard durability, standard pain tolerance, standard resilience. But everything they had found suggested that assessment was terribly, terribly wrong, and they had only just begun their research. The interview room was white and sterile, designed to be neutral for all species. Hyun arranged his recording equipment carefully, while Mina reviewed their prepared questions. They had submitted a formal request to the ethics board and received approval to conduct detailed interviews with multiple human subjects. Today they would speak with 4 humans, Taeyang, and his friends Jiho, Sora, and Doyun. Remember, Hyun said to Mina, we must remain objective. We are scientists. Even if the answers disturb us, we must record them accurately. I will try, Mina replied, though her suit bubbled nervously. The first human to arrive was Jiho. He was tall for a human with dark hair and an easy smile. He entered the room carrying a container of food. Sorry, I came straight from practice, Jiho said. Mind if I eat while we talk? That is fine, Hyun assured him. Thank you for agreeing to this interview. No problem, Jiho said, sitting down. Taeyang said you are studying human biology. Happy to help. Hyun activated the recording device. Let us start with some basic questions. Have you experienced any significant injuries in your life? Define significant, Jiho said, chewing his food. Injuries that caused pain or required medical attention, Mina clarified. Jiho laughed. Oh man, plenty. I play soccer, so injuries are kind of part of the deal. Let me think. I have broken my nose twice, fractured my collarbone, torn a ligament in my knee, sprained both ankles multiple times, and broken 3 ribs. Hyun's crystalline structure went rigid. 3 ribs? Yeah, during a game last semester, Jiho explained. Someone crashed into me pretty hard. I heard them crack. That was not a good feeling. What did you do? Mina asked, already dreading the answer. Finish the game, Jiho said simply. We were in the championships. Could not let my team down. It hurt to breathe, but I just took shallow breaths and kept playing. We won, actually. You played soccer with 3 broken ribs, Hyun stated, needing to confirm he had heard correctly. For about 20 more minutes, yeah, Jiho confirmed. Look, I knew they were broken, but broken ribs heal on their own anyway. The doctors just wrap them and tell you to rest. So playing for another 20 minutes was not going to make it worse, you know? Hyun did not know. He could not imagine a scenario where continuing to play a sport with broken bones made any logical sense. But Jiho seemed completely comfortable with his choice. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did it hurt? Mina asked. Jiho considered. During the game? Maybe a 6 or 7. After, when the adrenaline wore off? Probably an 8. Sleeping was hard for a couple weeks. And you considered this acceptable? Hyun asked. Well, no, it sucked, Jiho laughed. But sometimes you push through pain for something important. That is just how it is. They asked more questions. Jiho described his various injuries with the same casual tone that Taeyang had used. Broken bones, torn muscles, impacts that should have caused serious damage. All of it was just part of playing sports. When Jiho left, Sora entered. She was shorter than Jiho, with her hair tied back in a practical style. Hi, she greeted them warmly. What do you want to know? Hyun decided to try a different approach. Tell us about medical procedures you have experienced. Medical procedures? Sora thought. Well, I had my wisdom teeth removed like Taeyang mentioned. That was annoying but not terrible. Can you describe the procedure? Mina asked. Sure. The dentist injected numbing medicine into my gums. That hurt a bit, like getting poked with a needle. Then they used tools to pull out the 4 teeth. I could not feel pain, but I could feel the pressure and pulling. It was uncomfortable. Afterward, my jaw ached for about a week. And you were awake for all of this? Hyun confirmed. Yeah, totally awake, Sora said. Some people choose to be put to sleep for it, but that costs more and seemed unnecessary. The numbing medicine worked fine. Hyun made notes on his datapad. What other medical experiences have you had? I broke my arm when I was 10, Sora recalled. That hurt a lot. And I had to get stitches once when I cut my hand. Oh, and I get migraines sometimes. Migraines? Mina asked. Really bad headaches, Sora explained. They make you sensitive to light and sound. Sometimes they make you nauseous. Mine last for hours, occasionally a full day. What do you do when you get them? Hyun asked. Usually I take some medicine and try to rest, Sora said. But if I have classes or work, I just push through. You cannot miss everything just because you have a headache. Even when it causes nausea? Mina pressed. Yeah, I mean, it is not fun, Sora admitted. But what else are you going to do? Life does not stop because you do not feel good. After Sora left, Doyen arrived. He was the quietest of the 4 humans, but he answered their questions thoroughly. Have you experienced any unusual pain? Hyun asked him. Doyen's expression became serious. I had kidney stones last year. That was the worst pain of my life. Can you describe it? Mina asked. It felt like someone was stabbing me in the back repeatedly, Doyen said. Sharp, intense pain that came in waves. I was sweating and shaking. I could barely stand up. Finally, Hyun thought. A human describing pain the way it should be described. Seriously, with appropriate concern. How would you rate this pain? Hyun asked. Maybe an 8 out of 10, Doyen replied. Possibly a 9 during the worst waves. Hyun paused. Only an 8 or 9? Well, yeah, Doyen said. I mean, it was really bad. But it was not the worst pain imaginable. What would be the worst pain imaginable? Mina asked carefully. Doyen thought about this. I guess something like being burned alive, or battlefield surgery with no anesthesia. Things like that would probably be a 10. Hyun felt cold again. Doyen had experienced pain severe enough to make him shake and sweat, pain that prevented him from standing, and he rated it as less than maximum. What did humans consider maximum pain? What did you do when you had kidney stones? Hyun asked. Went to the hospital, Doyen said. They gave me strong pain medicine and fluids. I had to wait for the stones to pass naturally. That took about 6 hours. 6 hours of that pain? Mina said faintly. The medicine helped, Doyen assured them. It brought the pain down to maybe a 4 or 5. Manageable. They finished the individual interviews and then brought all 4 humans together for a group discussion. Hyun hoped that comparing their experiences might help him understand the human perspective better. Can you explain why humans continue activities when in pain? Hyun asked the group. From a biological standpoint, pain is a warning signal. It tells you to stop what you are doing to prevent further damage. The 4 humans looked at each other. I guess we see it differently, Taeyang said. Pain is information, sure, but you can acknowledge the information and still choose to continue. We are taught to push through pain from a young age, Jiho added. In sports, in school, everywhere. Pain is temporary. Giving up is permanent. That is what coaches always say. Do all humans think this way? Mina asked. Mostly, I think, Sora said. I mean, there are limits. If something is seriously wrong, you should stop. But normal pain? You just deal with it. What is normal pain? Hyun asked, genuinely confused now. Like a headache or sore muscles or a small injury, Doyen explained. Things that hurt but are not dangerous. But broken bones are dangerous, Hyun pointed out, looking at Jiho. Jiho shrugged. They heal. And I knew the broken ribs were not going to puncture anything important because of where they were located, so it was more about pain management than actual danger. Hyun decided to try one more line of questioning. Has anyone here experienced what you would consider unbearable pain? Pain that you could not push through? The humans thought about this. I passed out once when I dislocated my shoulder, Jiho said. That was pretty unbearable. But I woke up after a few seconds. The kidney stones were almost unbearable, Doyen admitted. But I did bear them, so I guess they were not actually unbearable. I think truly unbearable pain is rare, Sora said. Most pain is bearable if you have to bear it. This philosophy disturbed Hyun deeply. The idea that pain was something to be endured rather than avoided went against everything he knew about biological survival. After the humans left, Hyun and Mina requested access to the Academy's medical testing facility. They needed to see human pain tolerance in action, under controlled conditions. With Taeyang's permission, they arranged for a standard galactic pain assessment test. This test was used across all species to measure pain thresholds. It started at level 1, barely perceptible discomfort, and increased gradually. Taeyang lay on the medical bed, connected to monitoring equipment. The test administrator, a medical AI, began the procedure. Level 1, the AI announced. A mild tingling sensation. I feel that, Taeyang confirmed. Level 2, slight pressure. Yep, got it. Level 3, the equivalent of a pinch. Okay. That is starting to be uncomfortable, Taeyang said. The AI paused. Please confirm subject status. Readings indicate pain threshold exceeded. What? Taeyang looked confused. No, I am fine. Keep going. Readings show elevated stress markers consistent with significant pain, the AI insisted. I mean, it is not comfortable, Taeyang said. But it is not that bad. Is this it? Is the test over? Hyun checked the monitoring equipment. According to the readouts, Taeyang should be unconscious. The pain signals his body was receiving exceeded what the AI had categorized as tolerable for carbon-based life forms. But Taeyang was awake, alert, and asking if they could continue. Hyun stared at the holographic display showing Earth rotating slowly in the darkness of his research room. It was late, well past the station's artificial night cycle, but he could not sleep. Next to him, Mina had dimmed the lights in her containment suit, a sign she was also tired but unwilling to rest. They had spent the last 3 days diving deep into human history, and everything they found made the situation worse. Tell me again about the Hwarang, Mina said quietly. Hyun pulled up the file. Ancient Korean warriors. Boys, actually. They were trained from youth in combat and endurance. Part of their training involved something called pain tolerance exercises. What kind of exercises? Mina asked, though her tone suggested she did not really want to know. They would kneel on sharp stones for hours. Hyun read from the historical database. They practiced fighting in extreme weather, without proper protection. They were taught that controlling pain was as important as controlling their weapons. Children did this, Mina stated. Human children? Yes, Hyun confirmed. And this was not unusual. Many human cultures had similar practices. The Spartans, the samurai, the Vikings, they all trained their young to endure pain as a point of honor. Mina bubbled anxiously. But why? What evolutionary advantage does teaching children to suffer provide? Hyun had been wondering the same thing. He pulled up another file, this one about human evolution and survival pressures. Look at this, he said, highlighting a section. Earth is classified as a Class 7 life-bearing world by our standards. But look at these details. The planet has extreme climate variations, freezing ice ages alternating with warm periods, natural disasters including earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, hurricanes, and tsunamis. Many planets have natural disasters, Mina pointed out. True. But look at the predator data, Hyun continued. During human evolution, they shared their environment with creatures specifically evolved to hunt large prey. Big cats, bears, wolves, crocodiles. And humans had no natural weapons. No claws, no armor, no venom. How did they survive? Mina asked. Persistence, Hyun said, and pain tolerance. There is a hunting method humans developed called persistence hunting. They would chase prey animals for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. The humans would ignore their own pain, their own exhaustion, and just keep going. Mina was quiet for a long moment. That sounds horrible. For the prey, certainly, Hyun agreed, but also for the humans. Running for days damages the body, causes pain, but humans did it anyway because it worked. They moved on to medical history, and that was even worse. Before anesthesia was invented, Hyun read, his voice hollow, human surgery was performed on conscious patients. They would be held down by multiple people while doctors cut into them, removed bullets, or performed amputations. Surely most died from shock, Mina said. Some did, Hyun confirmed, but many survived. There are records of humans biting down on leather straps or pieces of wood to manage the pain. Some would ask the doctors to continue even when they screamed. He pulled up a specific case that made his crystalline structure dim with horror. This human had surgery to remove a tumor from his jaw. No anesthesia. He stayed conscious and still throughout the procedure, which took over an hour. Afterward, he wrote that it was painful but necessary. How? Mina whispered. How is that possible? I do not know, Hyun admitted. Their neural structure should not allow it. The pain signals should overwhelm the brain. But somehow humans can stay conscious and functional through pain that would kill us instantly. They found more examples. A human who performed surgery on his own leg during an Antarctic expedition. A sailor who amputated his own arm when trapped under machinery. A hiker who cut into her own leg to remove an infected wound. All of them survived. All of them described the experience calmly in later interviews. Here is something else disturbing, Mina said, pulling up a new file. Human torture throughout history. Hyun did not want to read it, but scientific thoroughness required it. The file detailed various methods humans had developed to inflict pain on other humans. The variety was staggering. The cruelty was beyond his comprehension. But what struck him most was this. These torture methods existed specifically because humans were so difficult to break. Look at this analysis, Mina said, her voice shaking. It says that human interrogators had to develop increasingly elaborate pain methods because humans could mentally resist pain that would make other species immediately compliant. They weaponized their own pain tolerance, Hyun said slowly, understanding dawning. Against each other. The implications were terrifying. Humans had not just evolved high pain tolerance. They had noticed it, studied it, and turned it into both a survival tool and a weapon. Hyun pulled up data on human sports next. Modern recreational activities. What he found was deeply unsettling. There is an event called an ultra-marathon, he told Mina. Humans run for over 100 kilometers. Sometimes 200. Sometimes more. Why? Mina asked simply. For fun, Hyun replied. For the challenge. They do it voluntarily. He found records of other human endurance competitions, swimming vast distances in cold water, climbing mountains where the thin air made breathing difficult and painful, lifting heavy weights until their muscles tore, all voluntary. All considered entertainment. This is a human saying, Mina said, sharing a file. Pain is just weakness leaving the body. Hyun read it 3 times, trying to understand. They see pain as something positive? In certain contexts, apparently, Mina said. They believe pain makes them stronger, that suffering through hard things builds character. Hyun pulled up medical data on how human bodies responded to repeated injury. What he found explained a lot. Their bones, he said. When a human bone breaks and heals, it heals stronger than before. The body reinforces the injury site. That is unusual, Mina noted. Very unusual, Hyun agreed. Most species heal back to baseline strength at best, but humans actively improve from damage. Their biology rewards injury with enhanced durability. They found similar patterns in muscle tissue. When humans exercise to the point of pain, tearing tiny fibers in their muscles, those muscles grew back larger and stronger. Human biology seemed specifically designed to benefit from damage. It is like their entire species evolved to thrive on suffering, Mina said quietly. Hyun could not disagree. They reviewed data on human childbirth again, this time looking at the evolutionary context. Human babies had large heads relative to their bodies because humans evolved large brains. But human pelvises were narrow because humans walked upright. This combination made childbirth extremely painful and dangerous. Any other species would have evolved differently to avoid this problem, Hyun noted. But humans just endured it. Generation after generation, they survived pain that should have eliminated the trait. They are stubborn, Mina said, even on a genetic level. Hyun found a human psychological term that fascinated and disturbed him. Spite. Spite, he read aloud, is when a human does something difficult or painful, primarily because someone said they could not. They will harm themselves just to prove others wrong. That is illogical, Mina said. Extremely illogical, Hyun agreed, but effective. If you tell a human they cannot endure something, they become more likely to endure it just to prove you wrong. They found historical examples of spite-driven human achievements. Explorers who reached the poles despite everyone saying it was impossible. Athletes who competed despite injuries that doctors said were too severe. Scientists who worked through illnesses to complete their research. All of them motivated at least partially by people telling them they could not. Humans are contrary creatures, Hyun concluded. They do not just tolerate pain. They sometimes seek it out. They challenge themselves with it. They refuse to let it stop them. As the station's artificial dawn began, Hyun and Mina compiled their findings. The historical data painted a clear picture. Humans were not just unusual in their pain tolerance. They were unprecedented. No other known species has this combination of traits, Hyun said, reviewing their analysis. High pain tolerance, psychological resistance to suffering, biological rewards for injury, and cultural values that praise endurance. What do we call this? Mina asked. There is no classification for it, Hyun thought carefully. Deathworlders? Deathworlders, Mina repeated. I suppose that fits. Earth seems designed to kill its inhabitants, and humans evolved to simply refuse to die. They had one more file to review. Human military history. Hyun had been avoiding it, but it was necessary for completeness. What they found confirmed their worst fears. Human soldiers throughout history had fought through injuries that should have been immediately fatal. They continued operating with broken bones, severed limbs, and massive blood loss. There were cases of humans staying conscious and functional, with wounds that had exposed their internal organs. One particularly disturbing account described a human soldier who had been shot multiple times but continued, fighting for several minutes before collapsing. When asked why he had not stopped, he replied that he wanted to make sure his friends were safe first. They prioritize others over their own survival, Hyun noted, even when dying. That is both noble and terrifying, Mina said. They found accounts of human medics treating others' wounds while ignoring their own. The auditorium was full. Every seat was taken, and some students stood along the walls. Word had spread across the academy that Hyun and Mina's presentation about humans would be interesting. They had no idea how right they were. Hyun stood at the podium, his crystalline structure flickering nervously. Mina floated beside him in her containment suit. In the front row, Taeyang sat with his human friends Jiho, Sora, and Doyeon. They looked excited and supportive, completely unaware of what was coming. Professor Vane nodded at them to begin. Thank you for attending, Hyun started, his voice amplified through the auditorium sound system. Our presentation today concerns Homo sapiens, commonly known as humans. Our research has revealed findings that we believe have significant implications for the galactic community. He activated the holographic display. Earth appeared, rotating slowly above the stage. Humans evolved on this planet, Hyun continued. It is currently classified as a Class 7 life-bearing world. Standard gravity, oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, moderate temperature range. By all initial assessments, an unremarkable planet producing unremarkable life. He paused, looking at the audience. This classification is dangerously incorrect. A murmur went through the crowd. Mina took over, her translator making her water-based communication clear. We began our research expecting to document a standard species, Mina explained. What we found instead was a species with capabilities far outside galactic norms. Specifically, their relationship with physical pain. The holographic display changed, showing a comparison chart of pain thresholds across different species. This chart shows the pain tolerance levels of 20 common species in the galactic community, Mina said. Pain is measured on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the maximum pain a being can experience before losing consciousness. She highlighted the human data point. It was far to the right of every other species. Humans regularly operate at pain levels that would render most of us unconscious or dead, Mina stated, and they do so casually, often considering such pain merely uncomfortable. Hyun activated a video recording. It showed Taeyang in the medical testing facility, undergoing the galactic pain assessment. This is a standard pain tolerance test, Hyun explained. It is designed to safely measure pain thresholds. The test automatically terminates when it detects distress levels consistent with maximum pain tolerance. The audience watched as the video showed the AI terminating the test at level 3. The test stopped because the equipment believed the subject had reached his pain threshold, Hyun said. But as you can see, the human was conscious, alert, and asking to continue. Concerned whispers spread through the auditorium. Several students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This was not an anomaly, Mina continued. Through interviews with multiple humans, we discovered that pain levels which would incapacitate our species are considered manageable by theirs. The display changed again, showing quotes from their interviews. Jiho talking about playing sports with broken ribs. Sora describing dental work while conscious. Doyen rating kidney stone pain as only an 8 out of 10. The human concept of bearable pain differs fundamentally from ours, Hyun said. What we consider torture, they consider an inconvenience. A Velthian student in the third row stood abruptly. This cannot be accurate. You must have made an error in translation or measurement. We thought the same, Hyun admitted. We verified everything multiple times. The data is correct. He pulled up the historical research next. Images of ancient human warriors, medical procedures without anesthesia, survival situations where humans had self-amputated limbs. Human history reveals that this pain tolerance is not new, Hyun explained. It is fundamental to their species. They evolved on a planet with extreme survival pressures, and their response was to simply endure. The display showed Earth's predators next. Large cats with claws, bears with tremendous strength, pack hunters with sharp teeth. Humans evolved alongside creatures specifically designed to kill them, Mina said. They had no natural weapons, no armor, no defensive mechanisms except one: they refused to stop. She showed data on persistence hunting. Humans would chase prey for days, ignoring pain, ignoring exhaustion, simply continuing until the prey collapsed. That is not hunting, a Quilnar student said, sounding disturbed. That is horror. To us, yes, Mina agreed. To humans, it is just one of many hunting strategies their ancestors used. Hyun showed the medical data about how human bones and muscles grew stronger after injury. Their biology rewards damage, he stated. Most species heal back to baseline. Humans improve. They are literally designed to benefit from suffering. A Nefiri student raised a tentacle. Are you suggesting humans are dangerous? We are suggesting humans are far more resilient than current galactic classifications indicate, Hyun answered carefully. Whether that makes them dangerous depends on context. He showed military history next. Human soldiers fighting through catastrophic injuries, medics treating others while bleeding, parents performing impossible feats to save children. Humans can override their pain responses through willpower alone, Hyun said. When sufficiently motivated, they can ignore signals that should force unconsciousness. The auditorium had gone very quiet. Even Professor Vane looked concerned. Mina presented their cultural findings. Human sayings about pain being weakness leaving the body, sports designed around endurance, children being taught to push through discomfort. Pain tolerance is not just biological for humans, Mina explained. It is cultural. They teach it. They value it. They compete to demonstrate who can endure more. This is barbaric, someone said from the back. By our standards, perhaps, Ian acknowledged, but we must understand this from their perspective. They do not see it as barbaric. They see it as normal, necessary even. He pulled up his final piece of evidence, the comparative analysis. We compared human capabilities to all other known sentient species in the database, Hyun said. In terms of pain tolerance, humans rank in the top 0.01%. They are statistical outliers to an extreme degree. The display showed a galaxy-wide map, with species marked by their pain tolerance levels. Humans were alone at the far end of the spectrum. There is no other species like them, Hyun concluded. They are unique in the galaxy, and they have no idea. He gestured to where Taeyang and the other humans sat. They believe they are average, standard, unremarkable. They walk among us thinking they are normal, completely unaware that their pain tolerance exceeds galactic norms by orders of magnitude. Professor Vane stood. These are extraordinary claims. Are you certain of your methodology? We verified everything multiple times, Mina assured him. We consulted medical databases, historical records, and conducted direct interviews and testing. Every source confirmed the same conclusion. Perhaps we should hear from the humans themselves, the professor suggested. Taeyang, would you be willing to comment? Taeyang stood, looking slightly embarrassed by the attention. Sure. What do you want to know? Is everything in this presentation accurate? Professor Vane asked. Do you dispute any of their findings? No, it is all accurate, Taeyang confirmed. Though I am not sure what the big deal is. We are just regular people. A ripple of disbelief went through the audience. Regular people do not continue playing sports with broken bones, a student called out. Taeyang shrugged. I mean, it depends on the situation. If the bone might cause more damage, you stop. But if it is just pain, sometimes you push through for something important. What about the self-surgery cases? Another student asked. Humans cutting into themselves while conscious? Those are extreme situations, Taeyang said. Life or death. You do what you have to do to survive. Anyone would do the same, right? No, several voices said at once. We would not. Taeyang looked genuinely surprised. Really? But if it was the only way to live, would you not try? We would be unconscious from shock, Hyun explained gently. Our bodies would shut down to protect us from the pain. We could not stay conscious even if we wanted to. Oh, Taeyang said slowly. I did not know that. Is that true for most species? Yes, Professor Vane confirmed. The human ability to remain conscious and functional through extreme pain is highly unusual. Taeyang sat down looking thoughtful. Hyun could see him processing this information, realizing for the first time that humans were different. What about your worst pain experience? A student asked Taeyang. You mentioned breaking your wrist. On a human scale, how bad was that? Maybe a 7 out of 10, Taeyang replied. It hurt a lot, but I have heard of worse. What would be a 10? The student pressed. Taeyang considered. I guess something like being burned over most of your body? Or battlefield surgery without medicine? Really extreme stuff. And a 7 allowed you to continue playing a sport, the student said slowly. Pain that was 70% as bad as the worst you can imagine. When you put it that way, it sounds more dramatic, Taeyang admitted. But in the moment, you just deal with it. Professor Vane turned back to Hyun and Mina. What are your recommendations based on this research? Hyun pulled up his final slide. We recommend the following. First, human pain assessment scales should be recalibrated in all galactic medical facilities. Current standards are dangerously inadequate.